wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
It's better not awaken anything in me.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
I'm responsible for my own happiness. I can't even be responsible for my own breakfast.
We have Santa Claus. Assemble.
Hey, welcome to our reaction episode to the Thunderbolts. Is this 32nd, 34th Marvel
36.
film? 36. Marvel film. And we're here talking about them still. We're here to talk about Thunderbolts. This is going to be a spoiler-heavy discussion. We've all seen the movie, and we're here to talk about it in full form. So, you have approximately 2 minutes before I am pretty sure we're going to get into some pretty deep spoiler territory here. So, we'll give you some just initial thoughts where we'll try and stay away from it if you really want to know. But I think we all liked it, fair to say. Yeah? I think we all enjoyed it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'd say
it was definitely good.
I'd say get yourself to a movie theater, go see it, and then come back and listen to our way too long discussion about it. How's that?
It's the change of pace we've been waiting for. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I did not expect Iron Man to be in this movie, and he wasn't.
All right. Initial thoughts, fellas. What do we think about Thunderbolts asterisk? What did we think about sort of our expectations, and then how they were met or not met with this movie?
My biggest expectation was that I thought they were going to be named Thunderbolts after Thunderbolt Ross, and that's not the case.
Not after Thunderbolt Ross, and certainly not after Shane.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no.
Shane could not afford the sponsorship rights.
No, it's all about Dimitri.
Yeah.
No, I really liked it. I liked it more than I thought I would, and I was optimistic going into it because the trailers had been promising, and Marvel, the kind of phase-ending team-up movies, whether they're the Avengers or whatever else, have always been good.
Right.
I don't know if this is as good as the Avenger foursome, but this is still really good. It is. I really like Wakanda Forever, so I don't know if it's better than that, but it is, other than Wakanda Forever, probably the best Marvel movie since Endgame, which feels like saying the new Star Wars movie is the best since Empire. They say that about all the new ones, but it feels like they mean it this time.
Mhm.
It does some really interesting things creatively, thematically. The cast is really good. I don't think you need to have seen all the different Disney Plus shows. I'm sure it helps with certain context,
Right.
but I think they fill you in well enough, and it does some really interesting things with the characters that it does choose to include. I did have some nitpicks, which I'm sure we'll get into, but overall, I was very
Right.
positive. And right now, it sits at number 12 for me at 36. So there you go.
Bruno.
I have yet to rank it out of the
Wow,
36.
I'm sure you've yanked it.
No, I haven't ranked it out of the 36 films yet, but I have ranked it at least in phase 5. It's one of the top movies. I have it just a little bit differently from Deepak. I think it's the best film since Endgame, aside from Guardians 3. We don't need to get into that debate again. I think that it was thoroughly well acted. I really, really enjoyed the pacing of the film, which I think is credit to the actors, and as well as credit to just combinations between the score from Sun Looks as well as the editing from, let me get that name real quick, Angela Cantarzo and Harry Yoon. I think they did a tremendous job in the editing here, and just like it helped bring everything together. To Deepak's note of like not having to watch anything previous to this, I don't even think you had to watch Black Widow previous to this. I went to go watch it with both of my parents, and they hadn't watched anything, and they understood everything from the get-go, and they caught everything from like the little details, the little like doom scrolling that we get from Wyatt Russell, which we already saw in the trailer, so that's not too much of a spoiler. So yeah, I thought it was really, really good film.
I've got it number 10, MCU all time.
Pretty good.
I've got above it Endgame, Black Panther, Infinity War, Avengers, Winter Soldier, Homecoming, First Avenger, Wakanda Forever, Iron Man.
That's a good top 10.
Those are my top 10. And then I've got Thunderbolts asterisk at number 11, just ahead of Ant-Man, for anyone who was wondering.
I might actually have it ranked higher. I'm gonna have to look into my ranking later.
In a lot of ways, this movie feels to me like an Ant-Man or an Iron Man, or a Guardians of the Galaxy.
Like an origin story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't just say you don't need to have seen any of the other stuff. I would say it might actually help. It might actually be a benefit to you to not be carrying around that much Marvel garbage in your noggin.
Yeah.
You don't need it. Like, it is not okay. We have culminated the Julia Louis-Dreyfus of it all. It was we didn't need her in Wakanda Forever or whatever she was, right? Like we have paid that off, and we now know that most of it wasn't important. So like, turns out maybe if your brain isn't rotted by this stuff, you're actually more capable of enjoying it. To try and I am incapable of talking about this stuff without giving it like the overall larger context of like the slate that it exists within. I thought that director Jake Schreier of Netflix's Beef, and she got the story by credit, writer Joanna Kalo from BoJack Horseman.
No, she's screenplay. The story by is Eric Pearson.
Oh, I thought she got both. Okay. Well, thank you for the correction. But so anyway, she wrote The Bear. She wrote BoJack.
She worked on Beef also.
She wrote on Beef. The director did Beef. Like, this movie has some interesting points of view. And I feel like that has been largely like, people are talking about like, oh, it feels like new lifeblood in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I feel like a lot of what that means is like, this movie has a point of view. Like, it is talking about mental health pretty overtly in a way that like Disney was kind of scared to talk about like that level of subject in the MCU for a long time. It doesn't like, and it's also not so direly serious about it. It does it in a way that it uses art as a metaphor, right? And that's effective. So yeah, I think that's where I am with it. Is I think that the people making the movie have like a really clear, distinct point of view. I think they're sort of bringing a fresh perspective into this really weighed down universe. And I think that the story itself is pretty unreliant on any larger Marvel stuff. So like, even if you don't know who Taskmaster is, here's where the spoilers start. If you don't want the spoilers, get out. It doesn't matter. More than 4 minutes. Once you're this far into the movie, it doesn't matter who Taskmaster is anymore. Literally, because she's dead. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I am with it. And I think a lot of that felt very like, I was trying to figure out what felt refreshing about it, because I did feel like it felt like sort of a rejuvenating thing in the wash of the MCU, and I couldn't figure out why. And that's sort of where I landed with it. All right, let's run through the cast really quickly. I mean, I think I really want to talk about Florence Pugh. I really want to talk about Sebastian Stan. Let's talk with Florence. Let's start with Florence Pugh. When Florence Pugh was the backup Black Widow in what felt like a legally obliged Black Widow movie that got released direct to Disney Plus, I did not expect she would end up being maybe one of the more important Avengers characters. Like, she seems like she's pretty core Avengers right now. Yeah? Right?
Yeah, I mean, Black Widow was always a core Avenger, even when it was Natasha. So it makes sense that Pugh, especially given her career trajectory and the time that she joined the franchise, I think she was always in line to be one of the core Avengers. I'm surprised it happened this way, maybe particularly, but I'm glad. I think she's really good. I think she's a worthy successor to that title, and if we are going to see a lot more of her, I have no problem with that.
Well, I think that's sort of.
No, I was just saying, I think it fits very well, and like, especially like you get you get a lot of the same energy that Scarlett Johansson brought to Natasha Romanoff, but you also get a lot of like new stuff from Florence Pugh as Yelena, and I think it's a really good balance between the two.
She's a lot less closed off, I think, than Scarlett was by design in those initial movies.
Exactly.
But I guess here's what I'm saying. And I'll try and be less like cute about it. I'll just sort of try and be blunt about my point. Like, it's not really cool to be in the MCU right now, right? Like, MCU kind of sucks these days.
Yeah.
Right? Like, people are still sticking it out, but on like a, do I want to bet the future of my career on this, yes or no spectrum? Like, it's not as cool to be in the MCU right now as it was when like Benedict Cumberbatch signed up to be Doctor Strange, right? And it feels like at the same time that MCU has become not cool, for a lot of the same reasons MCU has become not cool, Florence Pugh has become very cool.
Yeah.
And it's like, she's been cool for all the reasons the MCU is not cool. So like, whereas 2010 Scarlett Johansson Iron Man 2, what before that she's the other Boleyn girl, she's
Lost in
Lost in
Translation.
Translation,
Yeah.
she's the girl with the pearl earring.
Right.
I think she's a voice in the SpongeBob movie, but like,
She is. Yeah. Poseidon's daughter. Yeah.
and then the
Why do I know that?
and then the MC
Why do I know that?
and then the MCU really speed ramps her into who we think of now when we think of Scarlett Johansson. Basically, Joss Whedon cracks who her public persona kind of becomes. But like,
Mhm.
Florence Pugh, I feel like is sort of like in such a different place. It's just really interesting to me to see her signing on to be. I assume she like just signed a contract to be in like 7 more of these things or whatever, right?
Right.
And I guess
Yeah.
I was just sort of shocked by that, given where she is in her career and where these movies seem to be.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I'm sure she signed on for multiple because she does show up in Hawkeye briefly.
Mhm.
Right.
The end of Black Widow leads into Allegra de Fontaine giving her the mission to go hunt Hawkeye, which I have not seen, but I understand she shows up in, and
Mhm.
then she shows up here. Um, and on a side note, I would say if you're going to watch anything before Thunderbolts, I do think Black Widow is maybe not essential, but it does help to understand sort of the family dynamics there with her and Alexei.
Black
Well,
And
Widow.
I did
to
not see
to
I did not see all of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but they make reference to John Walker made his choices
Those are
and
the
something
2
about
I would
him,
recommend. Those are the
Yeah.
2 I would say
killing
watch.
an innocent man with
Mhm.
the shield, which I did not know the reference to, but I think I was fine anyway. But yeah, no, I think what you said is right. Florence Pugh has had quite a career since Black Widow, including being in Oppenheimer, which won Best Picture. She's done a bunch of interesting stuff, but I think she brings that credibility to it.
Right.
Sebastian Stan is coming off an Academy Award nomination for The Apprentice. He's in this. David Harbour, of course, with Stranger Things that everyone loves. Um, there's a lot of new, like you're saying, fresh blood here that I think is through whether it's a confluence of happenstance or it's by design, has allowed this to feel like a very new, different thing. My concern is this, and to obviously a lesser extent, Brave New World just before this, feel like a kind of back to basics approach in different ways, good and bad.
Yeah.
That it's, we got Deadpool and Wolverine, which was very multiverse.
Right.
We were getting these two. And now from Fantastic Four onward, with the possible exception of Spider-Man, we're back to multiverse shit all over again. So I hope that this is a sustainable thing going forward. I'm thinking that they've got Florence Pugh and these other cast members writing checks to hopefully give the rest of the multiverse stuff credibility going forward.
Mhm.
We'll see how that works out. But like Bruno was alluding to earlier, this is exactly what the MCU needed right now, and I think she's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Well, Bruno, you know much more, I feel like, about where Feige's at day to day. Deepak and I have we're old men who have become burned out on the Feige
Right.
chasing of it all. Where are
Yeah.
we in the phases and the procedure of Feige's grand vision? Deepak says about the multiverse thing. Like, where do we stand saga wise these days?
So I always like when it comes to like the whole direction of the studio and the MCU in general, like especially nowadays with how everything's been going, I always go back to the quote unquote infamous Palm Springs retreat that I've talked about time and time again, where I think it was at the tail end of the strikes where Feige and a bunch of other producers, and I think also not confirmed, but Robert Downey Jr. talked about a talk with Feige a year ago, roughly on about a year after that retreats happened. So I assume he was there as well. And during this conversation was basically when they figured out the whole new direction that they need to take the MCU in, and the whole like quote unquote overhaul that they have to apply to all their projects that was happening at the time. We had Captain America, Brave New World, which was already heavily in post production, and then they had to go through a big series of rewrites and reshoots. We had Daredevil Born Again, who went through pretty much the exact same thing. And then we had Thunderbolts, which had not been shot yet at all. And that's the big takeaway when it comes to the difference between all these projects, and why, like, in some cases, Brave New World, while still quote unquote part of this new vision, looks more disjointed than Thunderbolts, is because Thunderbolts is the first like full complete project from this new vision.
And
And I think
Daredevil is this weird hybrid thing because it was sort of in the middle of process when this meeting happened.
yes, same with Brave New World.
Interesting. I think that's so interesting because, and the reason I ask about it, especially in terms of the Florence Pugh of it all, is her opening monologue that she gives. Like, she does this very cool stunt we've all seen, which jumps off the big tower, and then
Which was a big bowl of nothing considering all the hype they gave it ahead of time, but whatever.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I saw lots of behind the scenes stuff about how Pugh like threw her weight around to get that done. Like it had not been approved by the producers when they got the green light, and she like fought to get that stunt approved because she really wanted to do it. So who knows? Anyway, she gives this monologue about, she's like, isn't this so boring? Like, we already know how this is going to go. And that felt very metatextual to me, being in the 36th Marvel movie, having her do a Park Chan-wook inspired hallway fight against a bunch of faceless bad guys while she monologues about how rote this has all become. Like, really felt like it then became a lens to me through which to watch this movie and its meta commentary on itself and its position in the MCU. And that made me really wonder, like, oh, where is this position? Like, that's why I was curious about it, was because, like, I think Pugh is really crushing all of that at a character level, and I think it's really informing the themes of the story. But it also, because it's so pointed at the movie itself, made me wonder, like, where did this fit in the Marvel schema of it all?
Yeah, I think that's 100% true.
Okay, so I do want to circle back to some Florence Pugh character moments that happened throughout the movie, but I know that we are all excited to talk about the character who was like on the other side of the spectrum in terms of kind of was a nobody and then became speed ramped into a superstar by being in the MCU. Bucky Barnes riding into this movie looking like the goddamn Terminator on the back of a motorcycle. With his cool sunglasses on and his leather pants. A member of the House of Representatives, here to do the people's work. What did we think about Sebastian Stan in the movie?
He did say in behind the scenes interviews that, like, when he was shooting the motorcycle scene, he was listening to the Terminator 2 soundtrack.
Why wouldn't you be? He looked so cool.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he's good. I feel like this is the most open we've ever seen Bucky. He's always sort of still kind of closed off and a little Terminator-y, and this time he felt more like a person, which makes sense because he's a politician now, which is carrying on from Brave New World. He said he had to make a campaign stop in his cameo there.
Right.
It's a follow-up that we've been kind of waiting on for Winter Soldier since Civil War, like, which is a long time, and I'm just glad that they paid it off in a really good way.
Wait,
and
what happened in Civil War? Because I didn't remember this, Bruno, and I've been going crazy thinking about the fact that, like, motherfucker killed Kennedy and then apparently like won the Bronx.
Brooklyn.
50 years later, Brooklyn, whichever. Like,
right.
What happened? How did they see that? Help me not feel like I'm going insane about this, Bruno. You sound like you remember something I don't from Civil War.
Well, no, I don't mean anything in terms of like just in terms of like the politicians of it all. I'm still questioning how he got voted into office. I just mean
I think that's the least incredible thing about it.
I was literally just talking about to the actual like Winter Soldier of it all, because we spent this long time in like in Infinity War and Endgame and like Falcon and Winter Soldier of him just sort of like fighting this identity when really he should just be like finding a way to use it for good. And I think that's what we finally came around to in Thunderbolts, which was a really good completion of his arc, with also a surprisingly comic accurate suit in the end, which I very, very much liked.
Yeah, agree. I liked him a lot.
Oh yeah,
I liked the process that he went through. I liked like washing the arm in the dishwasher. I felt like was such an integrated life thing of like, yeah, this is just who I am now, right? Like I read the packets while I'm clean my arm in the dishwasher in my little DC apartment or whatever. I absolutely thought when he came in like an absolute dynamo on that motorcycle. I thought that was so very, very cool. And then
I wish the trailers hadn't spoiled it. That would have been better.
I agree. Yeah. I agree there.
I liked him Florence Pugh energy that was sort of Cap Tony adjacent, where like they're both leaders of the squad, but one of them is more like the charisma leader and one of them is more like the tactics leader.
Right.
And I liked seeing them tag team off of that up to and including the stuff we get in the post-credit scene where like
telling her what to tell the
I can never remember her name. Yelena, is trying to pull up the thing on the screen, and
I was about to say that. I was about to do that.
And Bucky's like, here's how you do it. Yeah. What do you guys make of the dynamic between those two and sort of how it served the larger movie? Because I do think they're the two leads of the film, really.
Yeah, I think they're. I don't know. She felt like much more of a lead than he does. But I see what you're saying.
If we were picking two leads, I'd say her and Pullman were the two leads rather than her and Stan.
Oh, okay.
Or even her and Russell.
Her and Russell. But but I did enjoy their dynamic a lot. I think it worked really well, specifically to what you mentioned. I think there was quite a bit of butting heads for like who was the leader of the group between specifically Yelena, Russell, and Stan. But yeah, we can get into that further.
Well, no, let's do it this way. Let's first, Deepak, why don't you talk us through a little bit of Wyatt Russell stuff? Because I want to talk about John Walker and his.
Am I the best person to do that?
You talk us about this movie. I can do backstory, and then Bruno, let's do Sentry Void comic stuff after that. Cool.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Nice. Yeah, Russell is a U.S. agent, otherwise known as John Walker. He is the formerly government-sanctioned replacement to Captain America, which we first met in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. From what I recall of what little I've seen of that show, Sam voluntarily gives the shield back to the government, and it is then given to John Walker. There is a bit of a tension between John Walker, Sam Wilson, who is also joined by Bucky Barnes, Winter Soldier, about how Cap meant for Sam to have it. It should belong with Sam. And then of course throughout Brave New World as well, kind of has to reckon with him inheriting this shield, even though he's not a superhuman. He's not what Cap was.
They gave a lot.
And John Walker is apparently. He can jump really high.
John Walker, we should cover this because the movie actually goes out of its way to cover this. John Walker, Super Soldier Serum, standard issue, U.S. government brand. Old Uncle Sam Super Soldier Serum.
Yep.
Same as Steve Rogers. Bob, aka the Sentry, super mega Super Soldier Serum enhanced by what is it, like 1,000 times, 10,000 times?
All the Avengers
they say the power of 1,000 suns. In the comics, it's through heavy uses of gamma radiation, which is why he has such a strong connection with Bruce Banner. But I don't know if that's what they're doing.
We should also say this isn't quite it in the movies, but Bruce Banner, gamma, Super Soldier radiation. Then we have Red Guardian has knockoff Russian Super Soldier Serum, and Bucky has knockoff Hydra Super Soldier Serum.
Right.
And Sam has no Super Soldier Serum.
No, I think
neither does Yelena.
I think Bucky's is the official Super Soldier Serum that Hydra stole.
Okay.
I think that's how that one works, because that's how he's different from Alexei.
That tracks.
Yeah.
I think they talk about that in the car at one point.
They need to start making Sam's punches weaker or something, if that's going to be the case, because they really talked a lot in Captain America about how Sam didn't have the Super Soldier Serum, and I saw no difference in this movie between how any of those super soldiers fought and how Sam fights.
Well,
I think Sam's fighting is driven by two things. One, he's an actual soldier.
Right.
And two, a lot of his stuff is probably enhanced by the vibranium.
Yeah. We actually see the vibranium shockwave sometimes.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like he shouldn't be able to rock.
Maybe you could catch it because that movie wasn't done.
Well, Other U.S. agent stuff. Deepak, I think you covered background of it pretty well. Yeah, of course he killed. He does a murder on an innocent man in the
What
streets.
is the spark notes of that?
So
It's like a very yeah. Go ahead, Bruno. Please.
In an episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they are hunting down a group of supposed terrorists. And I believe they've also been enhanced by a knockoff version of the super soldier serum. So one of them just shoving a comrade of John Walker aside inadvertently kills him by shoving him into like a wall. And
Mm.
out of pure anger, John Walker hunts him down in the middle of the street, which is just crowded with people at this moment, and takes a shield and decapitates the man.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've seen that with the blood spattered
Yeah.
shield. Yeah. So the shield that he has in the movie Thunderbolts, is that a vibranium Captain America shield? Because it has all the scratches and stuff.
I don't
We
think
know.
it is.
Well, yeah, they don't go into specifics about the shield, but the fact that Bucky's arm is made of vibranium and it didn't bend to Sentry, while the shield did, would make consideration that the shield is a weaker metal.
I see. Okay. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so he's sort of the like ugly, like MAGA America, Captain America. I meant ugly, like sort of like, you know, like the royally underbelly. Obviously, he's a very good looking man.
Right.
But I thought his inclusion was really interesting. I think all these characters, I sort of like when I heard they were going to be on the team, I was like, oh, I don't know how much there is there. And then like was surprised when I was watching the movie at like how much they were able to establish interesting dynamics between characters.
Yeah.
Like how all the jokes of US agent just being an absolute moron the whole time really worked for me.
Ghost was a pleasant surprise because Ghost was always really good in Ant-Man 2 and how
Yeah.
she's built up as a villain who's not really a villain by the end of the movie. And I'm glad they brought her back. And I didn't like how they treated Taskmaster. Having just rewatched Black Widow,
Right.
Taskmaster is really a tragic character. And it felt like dispatching her the way they do in this movie was sort of kowtowing to fanboys who didn't like that their imaginary friend was different from how they imagined.
I will bet you anything they follow it up with the equally unseemly maneuver of
a real Taskmaster,
introducing real Taskmaster in
just like real Mandarin. We're still waiting for it too, right? So
no, I thought real Mandarin was
we did get real Mandarin already.
Shang-Chi's dad.
Yeah,
forgot that movie.
They named me after an orange.
Bruno, do you have further thoughts on the Kurt Russell, or pardon me, the Wyatt Russell of it all, or shall we proceed to the comics?
My parents spent the whole movie like, why does he look so familiar? I've never.
Who is this?
And I was like,
this good-looking son of a bitch looks like
him.
somebody.
You gotta look at some older stuff, Mom, Dad.
I think he looks a lot like him.
Yeah, I thought Wyatt Russell did great as U.S. agent. It was a really good straight man to some of the comedy that we were getting from Alexei and the others. I think it worked really well. It was a good balance between the two because we already talked about this earlier. They balance the serious stuff with the light stuff very well, like as opposed to how MCU usually does, where it's just overblown with humor. It was a lot more balanced this time around, and I credit that a lot to the actors, mainly Wyatt Russell and David Harbour.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, it's sort of the point of the movie, right? The balance between light and dark.
Yeah. Hey, look at you. Well done.
Mm-hmm.
Nice little
media literacy.
Turn of metaphor there. Speaking of, Bruno, why don't you lay down some lore for us here and talk to us a bit about the tragic villain, quote unquote. I guess really it's probably more like Valentina's the antagonist, but talk to us a little bit about our guy Sentry, aka the Void, aka Bob Reynolds, Lewis Pullman, who I did think was a sneaky good performance in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Originally, I remember us all being a little bit like maybe a little down in the dumps when we heard that
Stephen
Yeun had been cut from this part, but I think that Pullman absolutely crushes it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is the first time I've been impressed by a Pullman performance. I've seen him in a few things, and He always just kind of struck me as a nepo kid, but this time I think he pulled his weight.
I had only seen him in Top Gun Maverick, where he was also a little lonely guy named Bob. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think he did really well as Bob, aka the Sentry. For those of you unaware, Bob Reynolds or the Sentry is like a character created. It was like late '90s or early 2000s, specifically as a bit of a response to Superman, but they wanted
Mhm.
to add some extra depth and like darkness to the character, and that's when they wanted to like have the idea. They like the idea of having him be like just a man struggling with addiction and mental health, which we do see a lot in the movie. That doesn't even know he's this character. That's the one difference, honestly, between the movie and the comics, is that in the comics, Sentry supposedly has like existed since like the '70s, and he through his own like reality altering abilities, he had just made it so that no one remembered him. Um, Up until the point when he gets like introduced. And I think what they did in the movie is like was really really well done. It was a lot of justice to the comic book source material. I was scared we weren't going to be getting much of the addiction or mental health aspects for the character, because I think that's like a lot of the pillars for who he is and how he works, specifically with the dual identity between him and the Void, which is another big aspect of him as well. So I think they did that really well. I did have some hope that that's what they were going for when I saw that people from Beef was behind this, that they were trying to get Stephen Yeun in the movie. That gave me some hope that this is what they were doing, but I was still like a little bit skeptical for it being just MCU of it all. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'm pleasantly surprised with what they did.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't turn him into MCU Homelander, which they kind of do in one scene, but it's for like a purpose.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's the 2005 miniseries where they reintroduce the character and he's hunting down the Void and discovers through the process of hunting the Void that the Void is indeed him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think this was like a more accessible way of doing an equally interesting
Right.
story.
Mm-hmm.
There was some stuff about the characterization of the Void and like especially Yelena's relationship to the Void that I thought was really interesting. Um,
Yeah.
when Yelena starts fighting when they find Bob before they know sort of what Bob's deal is, like Yelena's instant reaction is to tell Bob stand behind me, which
Mm-hmm.
we later on when we see Bob's kind of traumatic origins flashback, that we understand why that would be so like significant to him. um so I guess that's my like artistic way of asking if I'm the only one shipping Yelena and Bob.
No, I mean like I see it. I like they definitely like put that in there for a reason.
Sure. um Yeah, no, I liked it. I thought that they did the character well in the movie. I liked sort of the flip. I thought that when they all fought him when he was in like Homelander mode, I thought that
Oh
fight
yeah.
was very like I liked that more than I liked the Justice League fight Superman fight in Justice League.
Absolutely. No, I thought the action sequences in general were all like really great. The fight scene in the vault was just amazing. Just like the constant circle of person A trying to hunt down person B, who's hunting down person C, who's hunting down person D, who's hunting down person A. It was just a really good choreographed fight.
Yeah, right. I guess we should actually address that a little bit because that's how they then also come to find Bob. So the premise of the movie, right, is that
Right.
our titular, who will become our titular team of Thunderbolts, they are all individual assassins who are all working for Valentina,
Mm-hmm.
Julia Louis Dreyfus, who we've seen sort of through the background of several Marvel movies for over a while now. And her Sentry project has been found out by the government, presumably as a part of all this fallout from the Red Hulk president business. And so she's trying to sweep everything up. And as a part of sweeping everything up, she pulls the old hire all the assassins to kill all the assassins maneuver, which is a classic that I like a lot.
Right.
And it sends them all to the same vault where I guess they'll all be incinerated if they don't commence to killing.
Mhm.
Taskmaster goes down, but then the rest of them kind of figure out what's going on pretty quickly and sort of squad up. They meet and rescue Bob, and they all like back to back to back to back crab walk out of an elevator shaft to rescue themselves, and then go from there, both in commencing to understand who they are in the dynamic of the team, in their interpersonal stuff, and and it's who the movie I guess kind of needs them to be.
Sorry, I just remembered when they were trying to drive out of the base, and the man was like, "Identify yourself," and Wyatt Russell just completely goes, "No."
No, I do not have time for that, sir. You do not understand. We are fleeing. We are getting out of here. I'm trying to think if there's anything big I didn't talk about. I mean, well, of course, Valentina DeFontaine buys Avengers Tower and makes it Watchtower, which in the comics, Watchtower is important in terms of like restoring the balance between Sentry and the Void.
And it's also like in the comics, it's also like a part of his reality shifting abilities, in that like the Watchtower and the Avengers Tower are just like two completely different buildings that are in the exact same place, and that like he can just like snap a finger and then suddenly the Watchtower is there for you to access,
which is cool.
Yeah, in the comics, I do think that I do like that they didn't go that much reality bending with the character, because it would have just made him ridiculously overpowered. It was.
I think we're gonna get some of that in future movies. I think we're gonna.
Yeah, but it's good that we're building towards it, and we have like a little bit more of like this like science-y add-on to him. I think that was a really good choice.
And now that we don't have Icarus in the Eternals, we can have him be our Superman. So.
What if he just flies into the sun and finds Icarus there?
That'd be fun. Oh, that'd be fun. Bring back the Eternals. In my opinion. The Thunderbolts then get picked up by Alexei in his limo service. In the Beast is what he calls it. They then also encounter Bucky, and the squad all go to confront Val at Watchtower, where she introduces sort of brainwashed, subservient Sentry. They all fight, and then they have like a psychic realm fight, which I would like to talk about more. But they sort of have a psychic realm fight, and they end it when they all hug Bob in solidarity, and sort of let him get control of his powers. And then they are surprisingly introduced to the press conference that Valentina tricks them all into going to as the new Avengers. There you go. That's what the asterisk was for. They are the new Avengers, and they all sort of reluctantly agree. And then there's a post-credit scene about how there's ongoing litigation about that name, and also some Fantastic Four that we'll talk about. Yeah, what stood out in the movie? What was like favorite scenes, favorite parts, things that fell short, stuff that you weren't as into, anything like that anybody wants to highlight?
Oh man, I think we've already mentioned the stuff that really worked. It's the the handling of the mental health stuff, loneliness, depression.
I wanted to call out the
really tying in the family stuff, doing a lot of the stuff from Black Widow and Guardians of the Galaxy that we've seen before, found families and coming together. Action scenes were really well choreographed. I commented before the movie came out that from the trailers and everything, it looked really bad, like visually looked really bad. But it from the opening logo right from the jump, it's obvious they've done it for a reason, to kind of drain the life out of it, like the Void. I think that makes sense. And then when we get to that post-credit scene, which is of course we find out in later after the movie that it was shot about a month ago by the Russos on the set of Doomsday. So it has a different energy to it, but it looks more colorful, more lively. I think it's for a reason. I think that also works. There isn't. I mean, I've talked about what I didn't necessarily like about it already, as far as the handling of Taskmaster and a couple of other things, just kind of pacing wise. And I think that big stunt they hyped up was nothing. But other than that, yeah, it was fine.
We've seen battles in psychic realms in superhero movies handled so poorly so many times. I thought that this one, which was a movie principally about psychic battles with one's own demons, I thought it was
the shame rooms.
The shame rooms. I love when Bucky runs in and says, "No, I've had a really chill life, so mine was really good, actually. Thanks." yeah, I thought that this movie handled it really well. Like what it would be like to like have to
Right.
battle a psychic entity in a physical space. That's something that like comics I always think does uniquely well is depict like psychic battles. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm always like trying to plug into like how are movies doing psychic battles. And again, it being so thematically important to this movie, I was glad to see that. I felt like they did find good visual ways to encapsulate sort of psychic combat.
It gives me hope for any future Professor X scenes we see.
Yeah,
Yeah. If you guys haven't caught X-Men 97, there like one of the episodes there's just a beautiful way on how they do a psychic battle in there that I hope gets used in live action, but we'll see.
yeah. Um, okay, should we talk about the post credits of it all? If we've been
Yeah,
good.
let's do it.
Bruno, did you
Yeah,
want to
they end
talk
up on a
more
Wheaties
Asterisk?
box. It was really cool.
No, I mean, as far as the Asterisk goes, vindication. Just very happy with how it all turned out. I think it was really good. I think the energy that Alexi brings to it's very like whatchamacallit, 2000s Human Torch, where he's just trying to get a sponsor for everything and just trying to drive forward the marketing of the team. So I really enjoyed that, and I'm excited to see like where they go to next. Did you guys get spoiled about the post credits during the credits? Question
Yes.
mark. Cool.
Yes.
They mentioned the Fantastic Four theme music.
Okay. I was wondering if we all caught that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not even upset about it. I was just like, oh, I wonder where that's popping up.
I thought I missed it. I thought there was some quick thing that I just didn't catch at some point. Like, oh, there was a reference I didn't get.
Yeah.
I saw it in IMAX 3D.
Mm-hmm.
I should have mentioned up front. And I got a Fantastic Four like IMAX countdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought
I got that at Brave New World.
I wondered if maybe it was because of that. And then because I was thinking about it that actively, I quickly eliminated any time I would have heard the Fantastic Four theme, and I was like, "Oh, it's going to be the stinger." Right. So yeah, in the at the very very end of the credits, we see these new Avengers. I suppose use satellites, some sort of space surveillance system, to witness
a shield of armor around the world.
Right.
To witness the Fantastic Four ship coming through a dimensional rift.
Extra dimensional something, they say.
And here they are, the Fantastic Four in this universe. So I guess we know that the Fantastic Four movie isn't going to go great, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't know that for sure. It could be a variety of things.
I feel like I feel like we know it's not going to go super great.
I think we know. Yeah, it's not going to go great, and they're effectively going to be this universe's Silver Surfer warning that Thanos is coming, or Doom is.
Yeah.
Galactus is coming.
Right. The other thing it made me think of though was with Doom, you think Battle World, you think teams, factions.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Sam Wilson Avengers, New Avengers, Fantastic Four, Guardians of the Galaxy, X-Men, and who else?
Well, I read the Kang script,
the Marvels
that leaked.
Yeah.
When that whole thing came out, and that script contained 3 teams in it. One of which was like Galacto Squad with like Thor and Rocket. One of them was Earth Hero Squad, which was like Spider-Man. And then there was one that was like Daredevil and Punisher and folks, and that was like a real street level team. So I was this whole time thinking about like, okay, how would I take all the characters? If I took all the chairs, right? If I'm looking at the chairs, how do I break the chairs up into 3 groups for the next 2 big Avengers movies? Because I don't necessarily think people break down along squad lines. Like I would anticipate that like Vanessa Kirby and Chris Hemsworth might end up on a team without Pedro Pascal, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think the whole Fantastic Four is just going to be on one squad. But
I'm very unsure if Rocket's Guardians is showing up.
Yeah, I am too. But I am.
Oh, I think they'll show up at some point.
Maybe Secret Wars. I don't think they're showing up in Doomsday
Yeah,
yet.
maybe not in Doomsday, but
But yeah, do you guys have any thoughts about how team composition could work going forward here, since we are talking Avengers with a Z branding, etc.?
yeah. I mean, I think it sort of negates the whole thing because the Brave New World's post credit was he's putting together the event. He's
Right.
been put in charge of creating the Avengers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this one goes, oh no, he doesn't want you guys to be the Avengers. So who is he talking to then? He's talking to Spider Man, Ant Man. And I'm trying to think of whatever Earthbound heroes are left at this moment. Shuri, Black Panther, who I don't know if we even know
Peter
is in the next movie.
Peter Quill's on Earth.
Shang-Chi, Peter Quill is on Earth, Shang-Chi. And yeah, I'm already drawing blanks on who else is
I
left.
think I think we'll have those teams like at first
Hmm.
in conflict with each other, but I think once Doom comes into the picture and puts them in Battle World, the teams are going to get like a sort of against their will shuffled, and then there's going to be
Yeah.
separate mixed match teams that are going to be like sort of forced to work together. I think I think there was a lot of intention that they announced Winston Duke and David Harbour back to back. Because I'm just immediately imagining the
Mm.
comedic banter between the two characters, and I definitely think I'm going to be seeing those two in the same team at some point in Doomsday.
So do we really think they're doing Battle World? Do
Yeah,
you really think they're
Yeah,
doing?
yeah,
They are? Okay.
I think so.
I think.
I really
think
don't know
this-
what's going to be the look for Doom. I'm very curious about that.
I think we're going to see him in a couple months, if only for a second.
Okay, let's talk about that. What is everyone's anticipation for what we actually get? Like, what of this is set up in Fantastic Four? You think we get Robert Downey Jr. in a Doom costume in Fantastic Four, Deepak?
I think we get him in the amount that we got Thanos in the first Avenger movie.
Sure.
I think we get
Yeah,
in post
I think
credits.
that's
Yeah.
what we get. I don't even think we see his face. I think we just see the costume and the mask, and we get the look.
Um,
We see a silhouette of a man like breathing heavily. You can tell that like his throat is scarred by the way he's breathing or something, and he's just like looking at the mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just hope it's good.
I think it'll be a
why-
good movie.
Have you heard?
And I think the first steps of it all is interesting because they mentioned I saw the trailer, like I told you, Riley, for the first time, and they mentioned first steps specifically, and you think it's either because of Franklin Richards or because of Galactus, and we see him literally walking in New York, or it's the first steps towards the multiverse, but I think it's going to end with them failing, that world dying. They, Reed figures out the portal to get to 616, and they come in saying Galactus is coming, and that's where we spur on the rest of this whole thing. I don't even know if we get Galactus in Doomsday or Secret Wars. I think that's fully a Von Doom story.
I don't think we get Galactus in Doomsday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would be okay with that.
Yeah. I see a lot of people like people will always give Marvel movies like subgenres, like try to put a subgenre on it. I see a lot of people after the latest Fantastic Four trailer being like, "Oh, this is going to be a disaster movie."
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I am wondering, and maybe we should schedule a check-in for sometime in the future, a comic book deep dive where Bruno and I can talk a little bit about Avengers stuff. But I'm wondering how much like planetary incursions are going to be a thing that we talk about in the Fantastic Four movie, because I definitely think that the incursion between our Avengers Earth and the 20th Century Fox Earth is going to be sort of the propulsive event that kicks off Avengers Doomsday. And that's something that we have a lot of stuff in the comics that we can talk about to like pick through. And that like Galactus could, so my point is that like there are incursions where there's going to be an incursion and then Galactus like eats the planet, and that has like weird rules and stuff. And that could be totally what happens in Fantastic Four, is like that the Earths are in close proximity to incursion and then Galactus just gets it anyway. or something like that. So I'm very curious about like how much of that like really deeply nerdy shit they're gonna get into. Um,
I saw some theories like when Reed talks about at some points that he's like stretching too far. There's been some theories about if this is like a quote unquote phony Reed and he's not really some big master scientist and he's just like stealing ideas from other Reeds across the multiverse, which would be insane. I don't think that's actually what's happening, but
That would be interesting, though.
it was an interesting theory that I found, and it would put me a step closer towards Miles Teller as the maker. Please, please, and thank you.
That'd be wild. I'm holding out hope for Council of Reeds for sure. Maker as a villain could definitely be a thing that we could see in the future. I would still believe. One of the things that I think, okay, coming back to Thunderbolts property,
yeah,
but like still also in this space, like Fantastic Four and X-Men, now that they have them both, like are just so clearly the future of this franchise. And I think we are in a space where they are just like getting as much juice out of the squeeze as possible right now, right? Whether it's through new team ups or returning to Avengers, like they're still trying to make money off of the Avengers branding, right? The longer they can do that, the better. But eventually, like they know that they will hit a button that says break glass in case of emergency, deploy X-Men, right? And then that's like 20 more years of this potentially, like if handled correctly, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny to me to have the Fantastic Four as sort of this interstitial, but to get comic book dorky about it, like Bruno Hickman, who is sort of like the guy in the Marvel space right now, has done a massive Fantastic Four run, a massive X-Men run, and a massive Avengers run, and they are adopting
Secret Wars
and Secret Wars and the Ultimates universe. So they are adapting his Avengers right now. I could see a world where they just like he's just the template that they just are going to sort of slowly start churning through.
Essentially, yeah, because like the big thing with Jonathan Hickman is that he is a bit of a master when it comes to world building. Like he can build a world and like give it enough lore and stuff where you can give it to any other writer and whatever they write to fit into that world, it's going to be cohesive because Jonathan Hickman has thought that much into it to put pretty much anything you want into it. That's how we made the Krakoa age for X-Men last, what was it, 6 years? Because it started in 2019 and ended so 5 years actually, because it ended last year. But still, yeah, that was a pretty good run.
And so the thing with his Avengers run, Deepak, is that it goes through two books at the same time. It goes through Avengers and it goes through New Avengers. And the New Avengers in the book are like the Avengers Illuminati, who like know all this secret stuff that's going on that they don't tell anybody about. It seems to me like maybe that's going to be the role of the Thunderbolts in
because
the next couple of movies.
Yeah, because they're like the government sanctioned group.
Right. Yeah. So like instead of being like ultra clandestine, they just like have access to more info.
Exactly.
And
which is sort of where we were with Infinity War. There's the Iron Man Avengers and there's the Captain America Avengers who are on the run.
Totally. Yeah. I think it makes it more consumable for an audience than having to be like, all right, now Doctor Strange and Tony Stark go sneak away for their secret meeting with Xavier or whatever it would have to be. Obviously, a lot of those characters wouldn't be in the movie, but my point.
Do we know if Patrick Stewart is cast in?
Yeah, he was one of the
he had a chair.
Yeah,
him and Ian McKellen.
Yeah. Oh, that's right, both of them. So they're not doing any of the First Class era X-Men. It's all the
at least not
original.
Confirmed. No, we don't have we don't have anyone out of there.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess they're technically the same characters.
Evan Peters would be a little bit hard to get now because of just everything he's done so far.
He's a messy one.
Yeah, messy by
sorry. Was there a real life issue with him,
no,
or just the one division of it all?
It was just the one division of it all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, WandaVision, as well as Agatha All Along. He showed back up in Agatha All Along as the same character.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, should we just do some final? Like, I mean, I recognize this is the problem with Marvel movies is that you inevitably get sucked into a conversation about what is going to be next.
Right.
Shall we give Thunderbolts a ranking? Take your pick. Number of stars, number of numbers, letter grade, whatever you want. Shall we shoot around the horn and assign it a value to, as all art must receive?
I gave it 3.5 out of 4 on Letterboxd,
Yeah.
so I'll stick with that.
Respectable.
I prefer to grade out of 10, or I guess rather out of 100, because I usually use like the decimal system as well. But on Letterboxd, I have it at 4 stars. Personally, it's like for me, it's like an 85 out of 100. If I were to be grading it solely by like Marvel standards, it would probably be like closer to like 90 or 95 out of 100. But really, really good film.
Yeah, it's funny how much I come away from this being like functional movie, A+, way to go, guys. But it has been sort of like rocky ground there in the Marvel world for a little while. Mm-hmm. So the fact that this is so just like functional movie, I do end up feeling like I'm heaping praise on. 8 out of 10 for me. I enjoyed it a lot. I think it was a really fun time at the movies. I liked this team. I want more of this team. I'm glad that they are the New Avengers. I've been seeing rumors that this movie is going to get re-released under the name New Avengers.
We'll see.
I will be so curious to look at the box office breakdown if that does happen. So watch this space.
Oh, they want to trick people into seeing a new movie thinking
you're saying they want to re-release it in theaters as the New Avengers. I just thought you meant it would be like getting renamed before it gets dropped on Disney Plus.
Yeah, like when the Blu-ray comes out, it'll have New Avengers on the cover instead of Thunderbolts.
Yeah, or it'll be like Thunderbolts: New Avengers. That's probably what it's going to be. It's probably going to still be Thunderbolts, and then they're just.
I'm just thinking of like Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat, or something like that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be the easiest version of it for sure. Yeah, underrated movie for sure.
Really good. What happened to the sequel to that? Where they've been threatening to make one of those for a while.
Tom Cruise has to get shot into space. He doesn't have time for it.
Do we really believe this is his last mission?
I do.
Yeah, I'll believe it. They said that at least twice before. We'll see.
Put the man in the ground. Thanks so much for listening. Remember that if you only listen to the show, you can watch it on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/nerdhearefirst or at our website, nihf.com. You don't even have to remember to go to that website. You just type in your email in the little box and click subscribe, and you get an email every time we do a new thing. We never bombard you with ads, and we don't sell your contact info. We just use it to tell you when we made a new thing.
Unless it's really valuable.
Yeah, unless if you're on, we have a special list of names, and if you're on that list, boy, you better watch out. Thank you to Bruno Meneses for editing and producing this episode. Thank you to Sterling Haynes for our social media. Thank you to Wiki Rascals for our logo and artwork. Thank you to Purple Planet for the use of our theme song. Thank you to me, Riley Trahan, for executive producing. I can tell you, if you're still here, if you've listened through this much of an energy shift as we've all slowly faded, you should hang out and find out that next week, me, Bruno, and Jackson are circling up to talk indie games that have come out this year that we've been taken by. So I think we're talking South of Midnight. I think we're talking Blueprints, and I think we're talking Claire Expedition 33. Yes. Claire Obscura Expedition 33. So all of that talk coming next week to this feed. So make sure you subscribe for that. And as always, don't forget to tune in next week to hear